Hello, friends. Bienvenidos. My name is Jen, aka Jen Kahlo on social media, your local witchy friend and intuitive guide through the occult. As always, my lovely husband and co-host is David, aka Premier Polls on social media.
Hi, everyone. On today's episode, Jen explains cancer.
Welcome to the show. Grab a chair, make yourself at home. Jen's got stories to share. You'll never feel alone.
Just some housekeeping. We're talking about the Zodiac sign Cancer, not the disease. Just to make it very clear.
Yes, I think it'll be clear because it'll be kind of the sub-episodes we talked about with each Zodiac sign. I think because we started a little bit late last time, it seems like it's back-to-back, but it'll be basically a monthly episode for the next 11 months, right?
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is we're going to cover this every time the sun moves into the sign of, because we did Gemini late. It seems like we're doing Cancer back to back, but we're doing Cancer because the summer solstice, which is this year on June 20th, is coming up, and the summer solstice also marks the first day of Cancer season.
Nice, exciting. So if you are a Cancer, this is your episode. I really enjoyed the feedback from our Gemini episode where people were like, well, yeah, that's cool to hear about Geminis, but I can't wait till my sign comes up.
I did have a lot of Cancers say that they are excited for this episode, so I'm excited to give it to them because I love Cancers, but we'll talk about that later.
Great. So we're going to start off just discussing the comments from our last episode, which was phrenology. That was one of my favorite episodes. I know when we finished recording it, we were a little like, ooh, this one was a little intense, but I think we received actually some pretty good feedback. And it was nice covering that subject and looking forward to covering more similar subjects in the future. But I'll start with our first comment. So Crystal Ann said, never heard of the term before, but this episode was super insightful. When I went to a psychic fair in Sacramento, there were people who would read eyes. Wonder if the two link somehow. The idea is cool, but the discrimination and the tricking part isn't. I don't know if reading eyes, because I think that's can fall into the category of not scrying, right?
Yeah, it does.
Scrying.
Yes.
Okay. I know, like, palm reading. Obviously, we don't know the history of palm reading. I'm sure we'll do an episode, but I think it would kind of fall under that category. I'm not sure if that has any connotations like phrenology, but I think with phrenology, they more took characteristics of certain demographics and then just decided these are not good people based on those characteristics. Whereas eyes, I think, may be a little more universal, but it could still definitely fall under that category. So maybe an episode to look into. I will definitely be doing a palm reading episode coming up sometime in the future.
In our scrying episode, I did mention that sometimes people say that they read eyes as a part of scrying.
That's
because
right.
It's a reflective surface.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. And then Happy Janet 2020. This topic was really interesting, and the fact that people would believe that having a certain skull shape to determine if you were an intelligent person is honestly so sad. And I hope that people realize how wrong this is, and this isn't actually becoming a thing, because I feel like a lot of progression that we have made, women's rights, etc., feels like we're going backwards now. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I think we made it very clear in the episode where we stand on this. I don't think it's really gaining popularity, except the thing you spoke about, which is the
looks
maxing. But specifically for phrenology, it's a pretty old practice. The last kind of thing I have to say about it is I mentioned last week in the episode, you know, when you go to spiritual shops or spiritual places, a lot of times they'll have the palm reading next to the phrenology. I was at a farmer's market last week after we recorded the episode, and sure enough, I first saw a little palm reading statue, and right next to it was a phrenology picture.
Wow.
So yeah, I think I was spot on saying that that aesthetic is very commonplace in the spiritual storefronts.
Wow. That's amazing that we spoke about it and then you saw it out in the wild.
Yeah. And I asked myself, should I say something or should I not say something? And I think it was at that point in time just enough for me to know. It was more of a shock seeing it, like, oh my gosh, I was right. So I didn't really say anything. The girl seemed super nice. I don't think she had any like ill intention with what she was selling. And again, that's the case for, I think, a lot of people. They don't really know what it is. However, it's really cool once you start discovering the history of things and then seeing them in the wild, making those connections.
Yeah, yeah. And people probably think that it's this, like, cool thing. But when you don't know the history, sometimes you just don't know. Like, I know some folks used to use the G word to mean free spirited, but it's actually a slur.
I have no idea what the G word is. Oh, like the nomad G word?
Yes,
okay.
The nomad G word.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know people that have named their dogs the G word, or they'll still say the G word, and then you have to tell them, like, no, that's a slur.
Yeah, so a really good topic if you have not listened to it, or if you're barely catching up to the episodes, if you still have questions or comments, because it was kind of, again, like a contentious episode, we're more than happy to continue to address any comments or questions on the topic. But we are going to move forward into Cancer season. So tell us a little bit about the Cancer zodiac sign.
Yes, so Cancer is illustrated with the crab as its symbol, which is very interesting. They are such sweet signs. They are water-based, which means that they have a lot of emotion, a lot of intuition. They are a cardinal sign in astrology. So cardinal sign means that they begin each season. So like we said, the summer solstice, the first day of the summer solstice will always be the first day of Cancer season in tropical/Western astrology. So again, this is how we keep track of the signs, not necessarily where the constellations are, but based off of the solstices and equinoxes. So that's going to be for this year on the 20th. So cardinal signs, because they represent the first sign of a new season, they're natural born leaders, self-starters, and go-getters.
I still am surprised by the fact that they can change all the signs, or is it just the cardinal signs based on when the season starts?
What do you mean, that the dates change?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the signs change because basically between a solstice and an equinox, that's going to be 3 signs. So you take all the days between a solstice and an equinox and you divide it into 3 equally, and then that creates your seasons.
So, for example, somebody born on January 20th, one year could be a Gemini and another year it could be a Cancer?
Yes.
I'd say I didn't know that. So it depends on the year you were born.
Yes. So it's not just your birthday and Googling it. You also have to see the year.
Oh.
But the people in the middle will be consistent.
Yes. It's just the outliers.
It's just the beginning and the ends, which they call the cusps.
I see.
Yes.
Are the cusps a little different than the middle? Like, will they have maybe a combination of the signs? For example, with somebody who's a Cancer on June 20th, one year, and then somebody would have been a Gemini in another year, like, would they kind of share characteristics, or it's more of a hard cut?
So they would be... So this goes for everyone, and we'll do an episode about this later, but there's an advanced astrology topic called a decan, and that's basically what type of, for example, Cancer are you? If you're born between 0 to 9 degrees of Cancer, you're a true Cancer. But then if you're born within 10 to 20 degrees of Cancer, then you are a, how does the formula go? You're a Scorpio Cancer combination. And then if you're born between 20 and 30, you're a Pisces Cancer combination. So there are 3 types of...
So yeah. So in
Yes.
basic terms, there can be a combination if you're on those cusps.
Well, it's not just cusps, it's everybody. Everyone is
everybody.
born between 0 and 30 degrees of a sign because the sign only has 30 degrees. But that's a very advanced
little
topic.
advanced.
We will talk about that later, but every sign falls within a decan.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, But we're not talking about that today. That's a little too advanced. But some traits of people with Cancer signs are in their big three or in their personal planets. Again, we have each sign within us, but people that have more prominent Cancer placements will be emotional, intuitive, creative, loyal, nurturing, and maybe lean a little more on the homebody side, or really prioritize making their home beautiful and their sanctuary.
Like a hermit crab?
A little bit, except not in the hermetic way, like they don't want to leave their house. They're okay to leave their house, but it's more like when I come home, I want my home to be my sanctuary.
Like their temple, basically.
Yeah. Even if I'm out half the day, like I don't mind that. But when I come home, my home has to be nice for me in whatever way that is. It's not like a Libra where it necessarily has to be aesthetically pleasing. It just has to be
Homey.
in service, yes, and homey to the Cancer, however they define it.
Oh, okay. And what were those characteristics again?
So they're empathetic, intuitive, homebody, loyal, nurturing. Okay. Because they're a water sign and they're ruled by the moon specifically.
And what are some characteristics of signs that are ruled by the moon?
So the moon is basically Cancer and the moon are very much linked. So they're going to be intuitive, emotional, nurturing, loyal, and they want their home to be a pleasant place.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand that. But I was just kind of asking with like the moon. Is Cancer the only one that's kind of linked to the moon with such gravitas? Or is there other signs that are also really strongly linked to the moon?
I believe Pisces might be another moon-based. I'll double check that.
And that's different from being a water sign?
Yes, because Scorpio is another water sign, but it's not ruled by the moon. I believe it's ruled by, I want to say Uranus or Pluto. I'll double check that. I don't remember the planetary ruler.
Okay. So what are some things that maybe Cancers are known for? I think we talked about all the infamous situations with Geminis where they got this bad rap. Is there any negative connotations or not so flattering characteristics about Cancers?
That they're big old like softies, but to the point where they're a little more like a crybaby.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say they wear their emotions on their sleeves or they're over emotional?
I think it depends on your other aspects, like if you lean emotional or if you lean crybaby. I think it depends on what you have balancing you out. But I personally love people that are in touch with their emotions. Like, I have no problem with that. Other people are like, why are you so sappy? But I'm like, it's great. Give me all the emotions. That's fine with me. But I think it just depends on everyone's taste, whether or not you're going to get along with a certain sign. Like air and fire normally get along really well. And then water and earth normally get along really well. But then like fire and water typically do not get along very well. Things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So what else about our Cancer brethren?
They tend to have better relationships with their mom because they're ruled by the moon.
Yeah.
And the moon in your zodiac sign or in your astrology chart can represent your relationship with your mom.
I see. What if they are moms? Are they more maternal?
If there is someone with prominent Cancer placements and they're a parent, yes, they are a lot more nurturing. So if it's a mom, I guess you could say maternal. If it's a father, it's a type of father figure that like, you know, my dad never pushed my emotions away. My dad was really there for me. And like, I felt like my dad protected me. But, you know, we don't have to follow the gender binary. We could have men that are nurturing and women that are protective. But generally, they have a good relationship with children just because they're very nurturing and in tune with their emotions.
Okay. And kind of following the same format that we did for Gemini, we will probably follow along throughout all the signs. What are some good pairings with Cancers, maybe romantically and then just in general? And then what are some to probably avoid?
So if you look across the way, Cancers and Capricorns normally make a good match because they're 180 degrees away from each other. But
And a Capricorn is an earth sign?
yes. So again, water and earth. Signs that they may not do the best with would be Aries and Libra, which are fire and earth. Or fire and air, sorry.
And what about like cancers? It sounds like it would just be a big old crying fest.
If you stereotype it like that, yes. Or they could really nurture and pour into each other. Again, we're not just our one sign. Like when we tell people that we're a triple Leo house, they're like, oh my God, how does that function? But it functions really well because you have to look at everything else that is balancing the individual.
Okay.
So your sun sign, which is a sign of like your birthday, is very important, but it's not all of you.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we've touched on that before. But everybody, I think, because it's the most common sign that they're aware of, it's the one that gets used mostly.
Yes. And then I did pull up all of the signs and their planetary rulers because I just want to clear the record. So Aries is ruled by Mars. Taurus is ruled by Venus. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Leo is ruled by the sun. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Libra is ruled by Venus. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto in modern astrology, but in ancient astrology it was ruled by Mars. I think Scorpio and Pluto makes way more sense personally. Mm-hmm. And then Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Aquarius in modern astrology is ruled by Uranus. But in old astrology, it was ruled by Saturn, but I think Uranus makes more sense. And then Pisces, I got wrong. It's ruled by Neptune. Okay. But in old astrology, it was ruled by Jupiter.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I feel like with the Gemini, because I guess I had a bad reputation, it was a little more discussive, but our Cancer is just pretty straightforward.
I think they're complex, but they're just not as divisive. Because Cancers are just so sweet that, like, the worst thing you could say about a Cancer is that they're too sappy, they're too emotional, but that's really hard to hate. I think it's really hard to hate on that. Versus Geminis, because they have so many multifaceted interests that can rub people the wrong way and make people think that they're two-faced or, indecisive or something like that.
Okay, I see. Well, I think I have a general understanding of Cancers. I'm excited to kind of go into like famous people and then people we know. How would we get along with Cancers as Leos?
Well, they're the sign right next to us, so it wouldn't be we love them or we don't like them, but we get along with them amicably, I would say.
Even though you said Leo's a fire sign?
Yes, but you have to look more at how many degrees away a sign is.
I see. Got it.
So if something is 90 or... Yeah, the 90s are the worst.
Okay.
And those are air and fire, but it just depends on which air, which fire.
Got it. Okay. And then, because we do have to make this podcast about us, where does Cancer lie within us, our house?
So for you, it's in your moon. So that's a really good pairing because Cancer is already ruled by the moon and it is your moon sign. So you're someone that can be very in touch with your emotions, but will you show it? No, because that's your Sagittarius rising taking over. You're an emotional person, but you won't show it. Or if you show it with like a logical presentation. You'll serve it on a logical platter, which is interesting because you went into the emotional profession for the first part of your career as a young professional, but you always made it intellectual. That's the Sagittarius balancing out your Cancer.
Okay. So I have a pretty good balance with it.
Yes. You also like our home to be nice. Again, it's nice for us. It's not like nice, like aesthetic, like, oh, it has to be Instagram worthy, but it works for us.
Well, I think our home is Instagram worthy.
But I mean, like there are some folks that want things in such a specific way, and if it's not done, they're unhappy. For that is very stereotypical of like Libra, for example, because Libra, and I would say maybe even Taurus, because they're both ruled by Venus, and that's very much about the aesthetic.
Whereas we make our home really homey.
Yes.
Yeah.
You tailor it to you as the individual.
And then just to give the listeners a little insight, would you say I'm kind of the decorator of the home? Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people, when they come over, they're like, oh my gosh, Genesis has a really good eye and can decorate. I'm like, everything you can see, like on the walls, the furniture, that was all me.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's all good.
You're like, it's good enough for me.
It's good enough. Which is funny. Okay, so this is how complicated astrology can get very quickly, and why you need to study it or you need to consult with someone. Because I have a lot of Libra placements, but I don't care about aesthetic because my 4th house is in Capricorn, and Capricorn is about being pragmatic, and the 4th house rules your home. So,
but I feel like you can also have pragmatism with efficiency as well as cleanliness. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Just a little bit.
Oh my God.
But if you walk into our closet, we do share a closet. It's pretty big. It's a walk-in closet. And it's almost like, I'm going to refer to Batman again just because, of course. But there's a villain on there called Two-Face. Where part of his face is just like normal and clean, and another face is just all fucked up. But you want to tell our listeners about that interesting dichotomy between us?
Yeah, you are very organized. I am not, but that does not have to do with Libra or Capricorn. That has to do with my Pisces in my 6th house of daily routine. Pisces is very go with the flow, organized chaos. And not only that, my Saturn is in retrograde when I was born. So that's where I am very deficient in my daily structure.
So when I trip over your clothes, I should blame it on your Saturn?
Yes.
Okay.
On my retrograde Saturn Pisces placement in my 6th. Absolutely.
And okay, so that was the Cancer for me. What's the Cancer for you?
For me, it's in my midheaven. Midheaven is the beginning point of your 10th house, which is the house of legacy. So for me, that means that I care that my legacy or what I'm known for aligns with me as a person. So for example, people that maybe have Capricorn as their 10th house or their midheaven would more care about how productive was I, how badass was I in terms of like making like a good business and like wealth and things like that, versus Cancers are more like how much good did I put into the world? Did I live in my authenticity? Was I a good person?
Oh, okay. And you know what? I would say that does match with you, and that is one thing you and I are a little different about. I think when I first got into the professional world, I entered a field that was about helping people and giving back to society, which I've kind of been like, I've done my deed. I did it for 8 years. I don't really look for that fulfillment. Whereas you, I think any endeavor you take, you're always like, okay, well, what's the next step to that? I mean, not just collecting a paycheck, but like, how can I leave a legacy or help people? And I mean, I think we both like to help people, but I don't need that as a driving force anymore. Whereas I think in your case, I feel like that is somewhat always at the forefront. Like, obviously, like, you know, you want to get your bills paid, be a responsible adult, make sure that all your living expenses are covered. And to me, like, that's enough. But I do know that for you, of course, that's the most important thing when it comes to your profession. But you're also like, oh, on top of that, I want to be of service to my fellow human. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely, yes. And that's why, as much as I've tried to leave the nonprofit world, I cannot. And that's why even doing this, like, if there was someone that was an intuitive, but ruled by, let's say, Capricorn, maybe they would just be like, how can I scale my gifts and profit off my gifts? Which there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, the main driver is more, how can I help people and empower them through spirituality.
Yeah.
That's my driving force. And the money comes second.
Which kind of puts us in a pickle because I want to be a stay-at-home husband, but if you keep dragging your feet because of your cancer, I'm never going to be able to achieve my goals of being able to sit at home all day. So
I know. Sorry, honey. I keep burning those candles, and I don't know. Someday.
Awesome. All right. Well, now going kind of into the examples and talking about the more hands-on approach to cancers. Let's start with our friends. Who do we know who are cancers?
Your grandma's a Cancer. And I was going to say, when people have prominent water placement, regardless of what water placement it is, they usually tend to be more intuitive, I have Cancer midheaven, so I'm very in tune. And then your grandma is a Cancer sun, and she's very in tune.
Yes. And I was going to talk about my grandma, but way to steal my thunder again.
I did not say anything more than that, so please take it away.
Well, what friends do you have that are cancers?
Isn't Myra a Cancer? I think Myra's a Cancer.
Oh, is she?
Yes.
Okay. And she's really sweet. She's probably one of the sweetest people we know. We're always gawking over here and say we want to just adopt her.
She's a little ray of sunshine.
Yeah. But she also plays it up, though. I think she knows what she's doing, which I think we also adore about her because she's like, oh, I'm cute and innocent and like, don't you love me? Which we do. But she's also a little tornado, which I think is also awesome. So I wonder if there's other placements that determine that.
And then my friend Nicole is a Cancer. She's also one of the sweetest people I've ever met.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. We went to her wedding, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a coworker who's a Cancer, and he's always like, how are you? And then I'm like, good. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, but for real, like, what did you do this weekend? Like, what happened? And I'm like, oh, you actually care about me as an individual. That's so nice. And he's that way with everybody. Just the kindest person, one of the kinder people at our organization, which we're full of kind people, but he rises to the top. But
and then, so that's where you talk about the kind of the nurturing and the bubbly.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So on to my grandma, because we've talked about her a lot in our podcast. I definitely would agree that she has a lot of the intuitive properties of a Cancer, as you mentioned. And I would also agree that she's very in tune with her emotions, understands emotions. I think the one I have a little bit of difficulties, I've never thought about her as like bubbly or sweet. That's not really something I've thought about her. If anything, I've always thought about her being a little more stoic or kind of in that matriarchal leadership role, which I guess you did mention at the beginning, right?
Yes.
A lot of Cancers do tend to have good qualities of leaders.
Yes. Your grandma, yes, because of the cardinal sign, but she's also very open-minded.
Uh-huh.
Didn't you say that she's tried like every religion once or like close to it?
I don't think it's every religion, but she doesn't close herself to opportunity for anything, which I think about 80% of what you mentioned, I would say that's her, but just the bubbly, like loving personality, I don't know if that's would be my first intuitive thought. I think she's very caring and very nurturing, but in her own way.
But again, we're more than just our sun sign.
Yeah.
So she has a lot of those traits, but not all of those traits. Unless she had like many, many placements in Cancer, but probably not. There's probably other things balancing her out, which I would love to know. But it's hard to get people's charts when they don't know their time. But if we know their year, we can know everything except their rising.
I see.
So if you know that, we'll look into that later.
Okay. Yeah, because I was a little curious about that. And then you always mention Tauruses and with Gemini already. See, I don't know the signs. The only ones I know is Leo, kind of. But just from learning and understanding and hearing more about it, I would think she has more Taurus tendencies as well as some of the Gemini stuff that we talked about last week. It's just hard to picture her as the sun Cancer because of even the examples you gave. I don't equate the people we've already spoken about to her. Like if I put them up in a lineup and like guess the signs, I wouldn't have thought they were all the same sign. But I totally understand when you say that there's different facets to it. I will say, though, with the moon situation, she's very well. It's not only that she's maternal; she is the matriarchy of the family, and I think it's very interesting when those dynamics play out within family dynamics because a lot of the times, not everybody has an anchor, right? Especially, I think, in more westernized societies, it's more about the individualistic. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Best of luck to you, but you don't stick around with that cohesive family unit. Whereas I think of a lot of more, I don't say traditional, but definitely South American, some East Asian cultures are all about that family unit, about that unification. And a lot of them do have anchors, whether it's a patriarchal anchor or a matriarchal anchor. And in this case, my grandma is definitely the matriarchal anchor for our family. So again, going back to more of that stoicism, I mean, I think even, and we'll talk about it next month, but with like the Leo, I would think that has more of that leadership quality. So just my observations.
Yeah. I would be curious to see the rest of her chart, but I feel like her open-mindedness, her intuitiveness, she's nurturing in her own way doesn't necessarily mean like...
And that's the caveat, I think.
Yes.
It's nurturing in her own way.
Yes.
And it's not always the sweet love. That's where I'm like, So, okay. Anybody else in your family that you know is a Cancer? Any family members? Any close friends?
It's a trip, but on my mom's side, half of us are Leos. August Leo specifically.
Okay.
So I don't have a lot of diversity in my family. I know my sister-in-law is a Cancer. I think she's a Cancer. Yeah, she's a water sign, but I don't remember if it was Cancer or Pisces, but I want to say she's a Cancer. She is very sweet. She's very close to her mom. And yeah, she's a great person.
Nice. All right. What about celebrities or famous people?
So I would say the most famous Cancer is Princess Diana.
Oh, okay. Do you think she's the poster?
She is the poster child for Cancer energy. So sweet, so caring, the world's sweetheart, a ray of sunshine. Like, she broke a lot of traditions. I don't remember. I think she died before I was born, but I think you weren't supposed to like hug the peasants or shake their hand or something, but she did it anyway.
It wasn't the peasants. So the big thing that she did to break stigmas is she would shake hands of AIDS patients.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
To show that obviously there was nothing to be afraid about, and she definitely broke that barrier.
Yes. And then a lot of great actors are Cancers because they're so in touch with their emotions that they can really play a role. So Meryl Streep, Robin Williams, Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, Benedict Cumberbatch, Priyanka Chopra. I'm totally blanking on this lady's name. She plays Gloria in Modern Family.
Oh, Sofia Vergara?
Sofia Vergara.
Ah, okay.
Yes, so many great actors and actresses. Tom Cruise. I didn't want to include Tom Cruise, but I'm just going to add him in there.
Well, okay. What I will say about Tom Cruise, problematic issues aside, he is very adventurous. He knows so many things. I mean, he knows how to drive a Formula One car. He knows how to pilot a plane. He knows how to pilot a helicopter. He knows how to do motorcycles. So yeah, I think he definitely has some of those qualities where you were mentioning, they're just very intuitive.
And self-starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of bridging the, I was going to say science fiction, but no, kind of bridging the metaphysical to the scientific. When we're talking about Tom Cruise, I believe he probably has really high, what they call kinesthetic
intelligence?
Yes, kinesthetic intelligence, because he has a very good understanding of how his body moves in the world. Mm-hmm. So kinesthetic intelligence just means you understand the placement and how much or how it takes up space in the world. So I'm kind of curious if there's any links to the different intelligent types to some of the zodiac signs.
Yeah, that would be interesting to do an analysis on.
Yeah.
Some other famous people that are cancers but not actors, Khloe Kardashian. And if I have not seen a lot of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but the one thing I remember is that she really liked her house to be nice and homey. I do remember that.
She's really mean to her mom, though. It's like playful mean, but she's really mean to her mom. Like, that's her shtick. She calls her out. Ariana Grande is also a Cancer.
Yes, she is. Yep. Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, which they have very like, I know that there's a whole thing with like beefs that they've had and stuff, but if you just look at them, they look so sweet, just like how they look.
Yeah. Margot Robbie's a Cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if she's like America's sweetheart, but I know she's very popular right now. I wonder if Anne Hathaway's a Cancer. I feel like Anne Hathaway would be like America's sweetheart. And yeah, like you mentioned, Tom Cruise. Oh, you know who else is a Cancer? Is Post Malone.
Yes. Very in his feelings.
And I do, yes. Okay, so you said Princess Diana is the poster child, but maybe the more modernistic view is Post Malone. I've never seen him be like controversial. Everybody who meets him says they love him. A lot of his clips on social media, it's just him being really nice, very, very personable with his fans. Never seems like he's rushed or being rude. And
I love the one where he's like, "Yeah, man, good for you."
Yeah,
right
that's him.
on.
Yeah, exactly. And his music, I like his music. I really enjoy
too.
listening to him. But he is, I think, very in touch with his emotions, and that does kind of show through his music. So.
Side note, Anne Hathaway is Scorpio.
Oh, really?
She has that face with the intense, like, stare, I think. She has really intense eyes, and a lot of Scorpio placements do. But anyway.
Well, we'll get to that eventually. So
Yes.
All right. So your Cancer is Princess Diana, and then I choose Post Malone.
Both great options.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I hope we gave a good explanation on Cancer, just because, hopefully the listeners who listen, they can identify and say, hey, that's me. But we'd love to hear any people who are Cancers if they have anything to say, or if we're spot on.
Yeah. So this Cancer season, it's not unusual, but we are going to have the Sun, Mercury, and Venus all in Cancer at the same time. Again, not unusual because of the speed at which they travel. They are very similar speeds. So they're always only going to be 1 or 2 signs max away from each other at all times.
Okay.
But we're going to be feeling very lovey-dovey, very homey, very intuitive right now.
Okay. Sorry, I looked up a couple more celebrities that totally match. So, Kristen Bell is a Cancer.
Oh, yeah?
And she's definitely a sweetheart. And Will Ferrell's a Cancer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I could definitely see that.
Oh, and Vin Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel.
And his whole shtick is about family.
That's true. Oh, yes, the family memes. Anything particular this year you mentioned that makes this Cancer season a little different, or if you're a Cancer, like this might be a good year to practice anything in particular?
So we have Saturn in Pisces. So with that, we are going to have a trine, which is 120 degrees, and that's very positive, helpful energy. So if you have anything surrounding applying your intuitive work, like I've always had this dream, or I've always had this vision in my head, but I don't know how to execute it, Cancer season is going to be a good time. Or if you have to have some loving conversations of, I love you, but this needs to change, you can address it respectfully and in a loving way during Cancer season this year too.
Breakup season and Cancer season before summer, before hot girl summer.
I don't think anyone's breaking up unless there's a Mercury retrograde. But I don't. When is the next Mercury retrograde?
I love how you're making it messy for people. So what you're saying is Cancer season is the time to get the hot girl summer body ready. Break up with your boo.
No.
Hit the streets.
You know when the next Mercury retrograde is going to be? It's going to be Leo season.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. August 5th through 27th. That's going to be messy because it's going to be about me.
Yeah.
And people are going to be fighting. People are going to be breaking up. Exes are going to come back and be like, I don't care. What's up?
Nice. I think it is the Leo and me, but obviously Leo is the next one we're going to do. And I'm super excited just because, I mean, let's face it, Leos are definitely the best side.
Oh my gosh. Such a Leo thing to say.
Okay. Yeah. Fun episode. I do like these kind of, I don't know, what do we call them? Mini-series?
Yeah, the sun signs.
Yeah, the sun signs, the zodiac signs. So Cancer, hopefully you enjoyed that. That one was just for you.
Oh, and because you're ruled by the Cancers are ruled by the moon, you're going to feel the effects of new and full moons a lot more.
Oh, okay. I was going to actually ask that a little bit earlier, but I forgot. So cool. All right. So we're going to be rounding out the month. We got, 2 more episodes left for June?
One more. And then we turn into July.
Got it. Okay. And then what are we going to finish off the month with?
Twin flames.
Okay. And we talked about it a little bit last week, but I think we kind of went all over the place last week. So can you just remind people a little bit about what twin flames are so they can submit their questions?
So twin flames is the belief that there is one or a very, very few people on the planet that you can get along with romantically to the point where you have to make it work at all costs. You are destined by fate to be together. If you feel it, you know it. And I've just seen it used for a lot of bad.
Okay. So we'll go into it.
We will go into it.
If you know anything about twin flames, drop your comments. If you feel that you're with a twin flame, drop your comments. If you're looking for a twin flame, even though we're not completely aligned with the practice, let us know. Just your hot takes. We want to hear all about it.
I would love to try to do matchmaking based off of people's charts. That would be fascinating, but also very messy.
Yes, very messy. They're going to hold you liable.
They're going to be like, what? Yeah.
Great. And then, you have a couple announcements to make?
Yes. So on the 20th, not only is it the summer solstice, but it's also going to be a full moon in Capricorn this year. So
20th of what?
Of June.
Okay, you just said the 20th.
Oh, sorry, of June, like in 2 days or a day. Yeah, in a day. I'm going to be going live with my friend Amy Energy on TikTok. Her TikTok is time222shine tarot, and my TikTok is just Jen Calo. I only have one page. If there are any scammers, let me know, because unfortunately TikTok has a problem. But anyway, we're going to go live together to discuss the full moon in Capricorn. I'll be discussing the astrology, and she'll be doing tarot pulls for each sign.
Okay, so you will be providing like services. Or more discussion based.
It's more discussion. Like her and I are going to start with Aries, and then I'll say, for Aries, this full moon in Capricorn is going to be like this for you. And then she'll pull some cards and add intuitive knowledge to that. And then we'll go to Taurus, and like if you have Taurus placements,
got it.
It's going to be like this.
Will there be any like listener interaction or anything like that?
I mean, on TikTok, people can live comment, and we'll address it right there.
Okay, so you will be. Okay,
yeah. We're going to be live, so you can comment. You can follow both of us. Tap the screen, give us those hearts, send a gift or a tip if you feel like it. And again, it's going to be 5:30 Western time and then 8:30 Eastern time.
Excellent. That sounds really exciting. That's coming up quick. So if you haven't followed Genesis on TikTok, go ahead and do so. And then you want to give people your socials?
Yes. So across the board, my socials are at Jen Calo. I do not have backup pages, just Jen Calo across the board. And if you would rather get in touch by email, my email is tarotwithgenesis@gmail.com.
Excellent.
All right. Remember, the magic within you makes the world a more beautiful place. Blessed be, and signing off.
Bye, everyone.